They were the scenes out of a horror movie that have become all too familiar in the Disunited Kingdom. So familiar, in fact, that the elite class, our corrupted politicians who are to blame, and complicit regime media don't even want to talk about it anymore. But we must not allow this to become our new normal.
It's a madness. Someone's been stabbed over here, someone's been stabbed here, babe. I can't take it.
The brutal slaying of Wayne Broadhurst on the streets of Uxbridge, West London, shames our ruling class. There he is, look at him. An honest patriot, council binman, who works hard, out for a walk with his dog in the early evening, only to be encountered by an evil 22-year-old Afghan illegal who shouldn't have been here in the first place. You know how I've been telling you? The murderers, the rapists, the terrorists, the drug pushers, they aren't just invading our country via the channel, but also on lorries. And that's how the accused arrived in 2020, only to be granted asylum. Asylum in order to kill Brits, just like Jihad al-Shami did on behalf of ISIS a few weeks ago. According to The Sun, the Home Office has confirmed that he had entered the UK in a clandestine manner via lorry and was granted leave to remain in 2022. The newspaper reports the triple stabbing on Midhurst Gardens also left a 14-year-old boy, come on, with injuries, and a 45-year-old man with life-changing injuries. The Afghan migrant was arrested at the scene on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. A witness told how the victim of the stabbing was very well known around the area. They said that a knifeman was chasing a man and a boy around the road, and a local man who was with his dog tried to stop it before he was allegedly stabbed. Another local told the outlet he's a lovely guy, very gentle and peaceful. He was just trying to help, and it ended up costing him his life. Other locals claim to have witnessed an altercation between the injured man and the suspected knifeman after he came out of a house of multiple occupancy. A neighbour in Uxbridge claimed the man who died was a binman, describing him as the last person on earth that you would think somebody would want to go for. He's a binman. I've been here 2 years and would see him walk past the window. I still can't get over it. If we was 5 or 10 minutes later taking the dog out, would the same thing have happened? She added she had taken flowers and a box of shortbread over to his wife and said he was just doing the normal dog walk that he does every day. This murder by a migrant, an illegal migrant, has shook our country to its very core. Because we know Wayne could be us. He is us. He was us. He could be your father, your brother, your husband, your son. None of us are safe anymore on our streets because of the unrelenting invasion of our country. And it's breaking our hearts. As this caller to Julia Hartley-Brewer on Talk summed up in the most devastating of colour.
The government are failing us. I'm so scared for my children. I have a 22-year-old son and I'm begging him to move out of the country.
Oh my goodness, I feel for you.
What are these politicians doing to us? They're putting our children in so much danger. They're putting everyone in danger, and they're not doing nothing to help us.
And that's the thing a lot of us feel. That, you know, how many is too many?
They're pushing us to do something that we don't want to do. We are peaceful people. British people never vote against their government.
Yeah.
They're going to push us through it because they're not listening to us. Our friends, our family are dying. I had a cousin murdered 20 years ago. It was stabbed to death, but nothing has changed, Julia.
I'm so sorry, Sarah. I'm sure I speak for everyone listening and watching right now. My heart goes out to you, and that's the reality.
I don't leave the house without a man.
You're that worried.
Everyone I know is getting stabbed. They're getting raped in parks. This is where I live, not where the politicians live.
Do you think that's part of the issue, that they don't live in the real world?
Keir Starmer, if you're listening to this, please do something. I'm petrified. I've never broken the law in my life. I've been a law-abiding citizen. I've been a civil servant. Please do something. It's us that are dying on the streets. You talk about being racist. We're not racist. My sister's mixed race. I was a white child brought up in a mixed race family. Nothing to do with race.
Exactly.
When Elon Musk heard that call, he simply said enough is enough. But there was more.
Keir Starmer, if you're listening to this or you see this, seriously, you really have to wake up. The country is going to end up in civil war and something has to be done. You've got to start listening to the people of this country. You really have.
Wow, I mean, very strong words, and you're right in the eye of the storm there, James. Robert, would you have anything to say to that? Would you echo the sentiment of James right now? I mean, that community, they've had enough.
Yeah, but listening to James and listening to Wendy, you know, I do think there is a sort of a glimmer of hope in this, in that sort of communities that are being put upon so egregiously by the government and by this crisis are really starting to find a collective voice and a collective identity, and actually starting to really get back in touch with one another.
I am talking about illegal immigrants. I'm talking about the ones that assessments are done on them by social care, and the biggest battle, I'll tell you what the biggest battle is trying to prove that they're an adult because they want to be seen as a minor.
Right.
So that then causes a whole new process of, okay, they're actually telling us that they're 16 or 15. Actually, they're 27-year-old men.
I keep reading about these cases, and thank God I've got the expert in the room. I mean, you've seen these cases where people with grey hair and beards, and basically they're balding and they're saying they're a 16-year-old.
I think there was a 40-year-old actually finding himself in classrooms at one point, and of course there was the case of Thomas Roberts, the aspiring Marine, who was killed by an illegal migrant. They managed to convince local authorities A, that he should be put in foster care, and B, that he should be exposed to school children as well. We're one of the only countries in Europe that doesn't do biometric tests on these individuals, and Wendy makes a really good point that actually the number of false claims that people are children is going through the roof, because they know that once they get sort of considered a child, that their claims effectively exactly. And you know, we need to start doing biometric testing. We need to start checking teeth. We need to start making sure that individuals are who they say they are, because unfortunately the means through which they're coming into the country, we really don't know anything. I think only 2% of people that have come across on small boats have actually arrived with passports. We've actually been able to corroborate they are who they say they are. You know, occasionally you get someone who's come in with said their one name, and then subsequently down the line we've checked their name and it turns out they're a completely different bloke. So this is a situation where it's not just the boats coming across, it's the way in which officials and the state are actually then choosing to deal with these individuals.
But how did the murder of Wayne Broadhurst happen? Well, the area of Uxbridge was forced to take on one of the largest migrant housing burdens in Britain. 1 in every 10 hotel-housed immigrant in the UK currently housed in Hillingdon, which does include Uxbridge. Now, Harman Singh Kapoor was on the scene, and he reported, talking with locals, it came to light that he lives with another Afghan family. This is the accused, in a rented house paid by the local council, and pays them rent for a room, which is illegal. Initially, he had an argument with his cohabitants, from where it escalated out onto the street. For me, though, one of the most shocking aspects over the past 24 hours has been the total failure of our mainstream media to treat this tragedy as the story it truly is. Here were the initial reports. Okay, half of you watching this are not subscribed to Dan Wootton Outspoken, and the best way you can support what we do is by hitting that subscribe button. It is completely free, and turn on the notification bell to be alerted to our new episodes.
22-year-old Afghan national has been arrested after a man died in a stabbing in West London yesterday afternoon. Another man and a 14-year-old boy were wounded in the attack in Uxbridge. The Metropolitan Police described the incident as a shocking and senseless act of violence.
A man has died after 3 people were stabbed in West London.
Police were called to a stabbing in Midhurst Gardens in Uxbridge at 5 o'clock yesterday.
Well, sources now confirming to us that the suspect, the 22-year-old man who is in custody on suspicion of murder and attempted murder following this triple stabbing here, is an Afghan national. We're waiting to get more confirmation from the Home Office.
This eyewitness spoke for all of us.
Outside the property of Afghan descent, coming out the HMO property. I know someone on the road, like I said, there was quite loud shouting and screaming, but when I got to the scene, all I saw was piles of blood.
And obviously, I mean, it must have been very traumatic to see injured people lying in the street.
It's horrible, but it's what we're getting used to around here. It's happening far too much, and the government needs to put an end to it.
And, I mean, in terms of this local area, you live locally to see this kind of really horrific event unfolding in the local area as well. I mean, obviously, it's got to be distressing.
It's very distressing, but what's worse about it? Well, it's not becoming shocking no more. It's like becoming the norm, and that's what's really terrifying. If this happened 5-6 years ago, everyone would be screaming, there'd be uproar, but now it's just becoming like the normal, and that's what's scary about it, really scary.
It is. It absolutely is. And what shocked me is then the cover-up began. Many pointed out Sly News started, look at this, burying the story right down its website. When the BBC eventually did report it, it decided to bury the real story. Look at that. Dog walker dies in triple stabbing as arrest is made. As Paul Joseph Watson pointed out, the video of that Afghan migrant feverishly stabbing some poor bloke who was just out walking his dog is one of the most disturbing things I've seen. Should be a national outrage and #1 story. Not a single story about it on the BBC News front page. And we know why. Because it didn't fit the agenda. And you can see that here. When Sly News did eventually report the story, they completely bury the fact that the man arrested should never have been here in the first place.
A man has been arrested after a triple stabbing in West London.
Someone's been stabbed over here, someone's been stabbed here, babe. I can't take it.
A murder investigation has been launched. A 49-year-old man was treated by paramedics but died at the scene. CCTV shows a suspect with a knife being chased by police, tasered, before being taken to hospital. A 45-year-old man was taken to hospital with life-changing injuries. A 14-year-old boy was also treated for stab wounds. Sniffer dogs and 14 police officers in protective clothing have been seen going along Midhurst Gardens, going inch by inch, looking for any evidence as to exactly what happened. Residents are shocked by what happened.
So it was really frightening. It breaks my heart, really breaks my heart. It's really sad.
The suspect is a 22-year-old Afghan national who entered the UK on a lorry in 2020.
That's your lead.
And was granted asylum 2 years later.
That's the lead.
He's now in
right
police
there.
custody, having been arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder.
No. That's not the footnote. That is the story. But nothing made me more angry than watching that cretinous bastard Tom Bradby on Woke ITV News last night, because he did not mention Wayne's murder once. Not once in the entire bulletin. There were endless reports on Jamaica, the Sudanese civil war, the latest from Gaza, fat jabs, and even more Donald Trump bashing. but not one word on a murder which has stunned and rocked this nation. It is social engineering, pure and simple. The Daily Mail was the only newspaper to lead on the story. And the Met Police seemed more concerned about the footage of the incident circulating on social media rather than the incident itself. They were rightly lambasted for suggesting Wayne Broadhurst had, quote, sadly died, rather than being bludgeoned multiple times to death by a knife-wielding illegal. Just like they always do, they hid behind draconian contempt of court rules in order to do so. So thank God for Elon Musk, and thank God for X, which has given us a free speech platform to express to the world what's really happening. And we're supported from the US by the likes of End Wokeness, who posted to millions, say his name. Wayne Broadhurst killed yesterday in broad daylight as he was walking his dog in the UK by an illegal from Afghanistan. John James on X summed up the mood of the country by writing, "You can smell the anger across the UK tonight. Decent people have had enough." The great academic Gad Saad weighed in, replying, "There will be civil war." And then Elon Musk went further, predicting civil war in Britain is inevitable. Just a question of when. Indeed, Musk has quite rightly used what happened to Wayne to repeat his calls for British patriots to back Tommy Robinson, who, as an aside, the state might lock up for terrorism on Tuesday. But Tommy posted, "We are under attack across the land from those welcomed in by the government and do-gooders." Elon then poetically drew parallels with The Lord of the Rings, writing, "When Tolkien wrote about the hobbits, he was referring to the gentlefolk of the English shires who don't realise the horrors that take place far away. They were able to live their lives in peace and tranquility, but only because they were protected by the hard men of Gondor. What happened to the nice man who was brutally murdered while walking his dog will happen to all of England if the tide of illegal immigration is not turned. It is time for the English to ally with the hard men, like Tommy Robinson, and fight for their survival, or they shall surely all die." He added, "The flames of justice calling to the people have been lit and will burn brighter every day." What is very clear to me is that the elite class has never been more out of touch with the people, the real people. As Paul Embry wrote, an innocent man out walking his dog in a respectable suburb, slaughtered in broad daylight, 2 others, including a child, wounded. The suspect, an Afghan national who entered Britain illegally and was granted asylum. Meanwhile, our MPs are banging on about Sarah poaching and TV adverts. They have no idea of the mood that is building in this country. But despite that, we had silence today from our political leaders. Total silence at PMQs. And shame on them all, including Kemi Badenoch, who had a real opportunity to put Starmer on the spot about this and failed. Frosty Basildon pointed out, "I am in complete disbelief that it's gone 10 p.m. This was last night, and neither Starmer, Lammy or Sadiq Khan have made a statement about the stabbing in Uxbridge today. No press briefing, not a tweet, nothing. These are taxpayers and voters, citizens. One of them was a 14-year-old kid, for fuck's sake. Appalling." But they want to stop talking about it. They want to stop talking about it. They want us to stop talking about it. As Charlotte Gill argued, Afghan men have repeatedly killed and raped UK citizens, yet they're the most represented on small boats. As I wrote in March, and it's not rocket science, these incidents are going to continue happening without a serious change of direction. And they are. Because here's the shocking thing. Wayne Broadhurst is not the first. He will not be the last. I will never forget sitting opposite the grieving father of Thomas Roberts. Remember Thomas Roberts, the aspiring British Marine, brutally murdered in Bournemouth in a random stabbing attack by the Afghan illegal Lawanging Abral Hamza. This was his dad, Peter.
My wife went to the hospital. She phoned me about half an hour later to say he died. I work in a mobility store, and I ran screaming through the store. They must have thought I was mad because I just couldn't believe it. I told your son's dead when, we only saw him the night before. So he was fine.
And obviously, why this story is so infuriating is because his killer, his murderer, this absolute scumbag of a human being, Abdul Rahimzai, was already a killer. He was an illegal migrant who should not have been in the UK.
So we must keep talking. We've got to keep talking about this. As Katie Hopkins wrote in Tribute, Wayne Broadhurst, the best of us, stabbed to death by a fucking illegal Afghan given a free pass to our country. God bless Wayne's family. This does not end here. Now, the Superstar panel. But first, let's be honest, here in Britain, what passes for journalism today is little more than politically charged activism with a headline slapped on top. Truth gets buried under layers of spin, agenda, and algorithm-driven narratives. That's why I turn to Ground News. It cuts straight through the noise and shows you what actually is happening. Ground News brings together headlines from over 50,000 sources across the globe, but what really makes it powerful is the transparency. You don't just see the stories, you see the political bias behind every source, like the ownership ties, the coverage breakdown across the spectrum. It's brilliant. Even the Nobel Peace Centre praised it as an excellent way to stay informed, avoid echo chambers, and expand your worldview. And my favourite feature is its blind spot feed, because it shows you which stories are trending on one side of the aisle but barely mentioned on the other. It's the clearest way to see media bias in action. So here's an example of a story barely gaining any traction on the right. In an interview with The Times, Nigel Farage said he will not cut taxes until spending is reduced, abandoning his £90 billion pledge. He's expected to deliver a major speech next month promising £350 billion in cuts to public services and the civic service. And here's one the left is completely ignoring. You have to see it for yourself. Starmer has emphasised the need for the UK to assist in monitoring the ceasefire as questions remain about the future in Gaza. Seeing every side of the news like this is exactly why Ground News exists, and right now you can get 40% off the Vantage plan, which gives you unlimited access to all the features I personally use for less than a cup of coffee. Just visit ground.news/outspoken, click the link in the description, or scan the QR code. Over 1 million people have downloaded Ground News and use it to stay informed. Join them and subscribe today at ground.news/outspoken. But now, back to the show. Preston Bates and Father Calvin Robinson with me. Father Calvin, this was a shockingly predictable tragedy. But the fact that this Afghan illegal arrived in the country in 2020 in a lorry and then was allowed leave to remain is something that should be the biggest story today in the country. Elon Musk understands that, but our elite class want to bury the truth.
Of course they do, because they're afraid. They are petrified of something kicking off. Something will kick off. Of course it will. It's bound to. But they can't keep covering up the story forever. And it's not just this story. Every story like this keeps getting covered up in the same way. And there will be more. There will be many more. There will be more stabbings. There will be more abuse. There will be more instances of rape. These things will continue as long as we keep letting military-age men from third world countries invade our country without any repercussion. In fact, giving them leave to remain is absurd. We have criminals, we have, well, we don't even know who they are, entering our country unvetted, without paperwork, and we're allowing them to stay, which is essentially saying we do not care about our own people. That's what the establishment is saying. That's what the government is saying. That's what the mainstream media is saying when they cover this stuff up. They are complicit in all of this. I don't know if I agree with the likes of Elon Musk that there will be civil war, because the British people aren't armed. In fact, the only people that are armed are the Mohammedans. And what's the advice from the government? Is to keep your weapons in the mosque. Like, what kind of advice is that? And so who is going to be fighting who? I can't see, and with what weaponry? I can't see a civil war happening. I can see much more civil unrest. I can see people getting more unhappy, and I can see more people dying at the hands of the invaders, but I can't see a means or even a will to fight back.
Preston Bates, your take.
You know, I think the story is really about immigration. It has really little to do with a stabbing, and it has more to do with the fact that the people that are controlling mainstream media just don't want us talking about how multiculturalism doesn't work, how we shouldn't share space and really a country with people who don't share Christian values, who don't share Western values. And so the more they can just downplay the story and make it about, oh, a man was arrested for stabbing, he was a binman, he was this, he was that, and less about the fact that Afghanis are 122 times more likely, 47 times more likely to commit crime in the UK. Albanians 122 times more likely to commit crime in the UK, versus native-born English or British people writ large. The more that they can just make the story about just crime and not about immigration and culture, the more they're actually playing into the dividing and conquering they need to actually just displace all of the West and the seat of the West, which is England.
100%. And Father Calvin, it does not feel like a coincidence to me that on Tuesday morning, and we've got a special broadcast of Outspoken, Tommy Robinson faces a potential jail sentence where the British deep state will be able to forevermore label him a terrorist, because they know that with the backing of the likes of Elon Musk, this man is becoming a cultural leader to fight against the stuff in a way that our politicians are not, because not one politician raised the issue today in PMQs.
It's almost as if they don't care about the people they're elected to represent, isn't it? As in regards to Tommy, they will continue to go for him, just as they're continuing to go for our friend Lawrence Fox. They'll continue to go for anyone who dares speak up against these issues and tries to rally the troops. I mean, what have these guys been doing? Just getting people out in marches and rallies, just getting people together and festival vibes to celebrate Britishness, to unite with each other against the foreign invasion. And so the establishment cannot have that. So they'll silence, they'll oppress, they'll even persecute them and prosecute people in order to prevent any kind of unity, because they do want us divided. As long as we are divided, as long as we are against each other, we're not against them. And this is the major problem, that the establishment, and I mean, I'm talking about the metropolitan liberal elite here, from both the elected representatives to the police force with their two-tier system and the judiciary, which is the same, to the mainstream or legacy media that refuses to cover these stories properly. All of them are at fault. And the ordinary, mostly working class British folk are the enemy of the state in this regard. And so we have to flip that back around and say, no, the establishment are the enemy of the people. But what are we going to do about it?
And then, Preston Bates, we get the complete indignity of the fact that the British state, so us, right, the taxpayers, have today paid £500 to Habush Kabuto. He is the migrant from Ethiopia who sexually assaulted the 14-year-old girl after being here for just 8 days outside the Bell Hotel in Irpin, which caused all of that unrest, which created the movement of the brilliant pink ladies all summer long. We paid him £500 to leave the country, right? We paid him for coming here on a boat, for sexually assaulting one of our young girls. And then, of course, the government apparently accidentally releasing him on the streets. And Shabana Mahmood, the completely corrupted Home Secretary, was boasting about it. This morning, she wrote, "Last week's blunder should never have happened, and I share the public's anger that it did. I would like to thank the police for rapidly bringing Mr. Kabuto into custody and the public for their vigilance. I have pulled every lever to deport Mr. Kabuto and remove him off British soil. I am pleased to confirm this vile child sex offender has been deported. Our streets are safer because of it. If you come to this country and commit crimes, we will remove you." Well, I replied to this saying they have committed a crime simply by being in the country. You absolute cretinous danger. The Afghan illegal who illegally entered the country just brutally murdered Wayne Broadhurst. It's too late then, FFS. We see what you're doing to us. And Rupert Lowe added, put those same levers millions of times and we might start listening. Because the point is, Preston, it's too late. It's too late to deport someone once they've sexually assaulted a 14-year-old. They have broken the law simply by arriving on a small boat. So they should either be locked up for that immediately or deported.
And this is what I was just getting back to earlier. We're making the bigger story about the minute details here. When we just
Yes.
talk about, oh, now Shabana, who we're supposed to trust, has just deported one person who should have never been here, versus the fact that there's millions, perhaps millions of people that shouldn't even be in this country. In the United States, it's tens of millions of people. And look what a competent government can accomplish when it works for the people. That's really what we should be talking about. The British people are paying taxes at some of the highest rates in the West, and they're getting some of the worst services for government anywhere in the world. And so that I disagree with Father Calvin that there's not going to be a will for people to resist and there won't be an uprising, because everyone has a breaking point. And we're getting now at a civilizational level to a breaking point, not just here, but as Dr. David Betts of King's College has said, when it breaks out anywhere in the West, it's going to be contagious and it'll go to the next proximate area. I think he was thinking about France. But I just don't see how people can be constantly gaslit at such a large level for such a long period of time and then just continue to live as if the sky is red when it's clearly blue.
100%. I mean, Father Calvin, do you understand that actually, okay, yeah, we're not armed, but we're also not stupid. And for a long time, we have trusted our elite class. Remember, for a long time, Father Calvin, as well, we've only had these lies from the mainstream media. There hasn't been an alternative. It hasn't necessarily been easy to find out the truth. That is changing. And there is this anger that is growing.
It's already too late. I mean, the demographic changes have already taken place. Within our lifetimes, Britons will be a minority in the whole of Britain. Mohammedans will be a majority. Christians are already no longer the majority. Like, it's already too late. I don't see any political means. I don't see any civil war happening. And again, the people aren't armed, and if they're not, or if their will isn't already there by now, when is it going to be there? We're an apathetic people who are sitting by and we've watched our country be taken over. It's already too late. We should have had gunboats preventing all of these illegal immigrants entering our country in the first place. Mount machine guns on the cliffs of Dover, for goodness sake. Nobody should be allowed to enter the country illegally. That is, as you rightly pointed out, it's an illegal act from the get-go. Therefore, they should be deterred. Australia manages to do it. Our wet, lukewarm politicians claim international law would not allow them. So what? People are breaking international law by coming into the country. Like, do whatever you can do to protect the people of the country. If someone's in our country for 8 days and they're already raping a minor, for goodness sake, we are already failing the young girls of our country, our daughters, our nieces, our sisters. We owe them more. And again, I think it's already too late. I can't see anything changing at this point. It's not a case of people will eventually wake up. They should have woken up already.
But we have some breaking news just in regards to our top story today. The police have now charged the 22-year-old Afghan illegal accused of murdering Wayne Broadhurst, the 49-year-old dog walker and binman. He has been named as the Afghan national Safi Dawood of Midhurst Gardens, Uxbridge. What is, I think, most shocking is that the Metropolitan Police have now confirmed that this amazing man, Wayne Broadhurst, did not know. The charged man did not know the Afghan illegal. And of course, now that he has been charged, and I hate this, but I'm honest with you about it, there is pressure not to talk about it. The police are going to come down on everyone and talk about contempt of court. But just think about this for 1 second. Wayne Broadhurst. Let's remember that name. We're going to keep talking about Wayne Broadhurst, because just think about the fact that he left his house 2 days ago, probably after a hard day's work, cleaning up the streets, for a bit of peace with his dog, and he ended up stabbed to death with this 22-year-old Afghan, now charged. He had never met him before. It looks like he was a have-a-go hero who was trying to get involved with this altercation, because the other 2 men who have been stabbed, one of whom is just 14, the other of whom has life-changing injuries, were known. to Safi Darwood. But the complete stranger, this amazing man, exactly what we want people in Britain to be, Great Britons to be, ends up dead. Honestly, I'm absolutely flabbergasted about this story. And I know you are too. In fact, so many of you have been messaging in today on this. Charlotte Brown, thank you for the super chat, by the way, says, heartbroken, Ant Middleton, we need you now. Misty12314 says, I hope the family speak out against horrific murder. It seems the police keep families quiet. People have really had enough of this disgraceful government. Oh my goodness, Misty, I think about this all the time, and it's so frustrating. But yes, the police often put the fear of God into the families and say, oh, if you speak out, if you talk about this, it's going to make it harder to get a prosecution, which is of course bullshit. But what it means is they are silenced. Adrian Smith, 12I, says, I grew up near to where this happened. So glad to be well away from London now. I know so many people feel this. Simon IM2ZN says, not surprised the Uni Party are quiet, as they are complicit by encouraging them into the UK, so it's likely embarrassing for them, that or they couldn't care less. To be honest, Simon, I think it's the former. I thought that today. I thought, why is Kemi Bader not raising this? And of course I know why. Of course I know why, because it was under a Conservative government that this man was granted leave to remain in our country. And MC5500 says, why are our lives changing? Lack of safety, yet the immigrants have all the health and safety they need. We, the British, are left in the gutter. It's happening everywhere in Europe. So much frustration from you on this. And you know I will cover this story honestly, and we will cover this story honestly on Outspoken. Okay, let's reveal today's Greatest Britain and Union Jackass. Your Union Jackass nominees: Bob Villan, nominated by Matt Cass 048. Who says, Bob, most of the people born on this island would be fine with you had you not shown yourself up to be a massive terrorist supporting and murdering enjoying CNUT. Rachel Reeves, nominated by It's Only Me 44 for blaming her planned tax hikes on Liz Truss. And Dr. Shola, she featured on the show, nominated by Dr. Wolf 44 for wanting Rupert Lowe dead in a deranged rant. The results are in. And actually, this was an interesting one. Close today, but the first spot and the runner-up kept changing throughout the show, or at least in the early part of the show when I was looking. In third place, Bob Villan with 26% of the vote. The runner-up, Rachel Reeves, with 33% of the vote. But your winner with 41% of the vote, the truly despicable Dr. Shola. And of course, there could only be one man to be our Greatest Britain today. It's Wayne Broadhurst, nominated by Sarah Booth, who said, slaughtered by an illegal Afghan immigrant whilst walking his dog near his home in Uxbridge, who tried to break up an attack on a middle-aged man and his son. Just an ordinary bloke, a bin man, but a decent family man who tried to be a good citizen. Rest in peace. I'm totally rocked by this. I know you are too. Wayne Broadhurst, thank you. Thank you for stepping in and doing what was right. But this man shouldn't have been here.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.